living in a man's world. They think I'm plastic. It's fantastic.
Barbie genuinely surprised me. You'd think a movie about Mattel's iconic cash cow would be just that, a harmless and inoffensive film about a doll learning to be herself or something, to make easy money off of the established brand. What we got instead was a film about real-world issues. Mixing heavy themes of mortality, identity, and gender, the Barbie movie understands how to deal with its subject matter without completely losing its lighthearted tone or forgetting its general message of equality. The movie says it's hard being a woman, but at no point does it say that men aren't important. The movie's depiction of the real world has men in charge of things, which is inverted in Barbieland, where women are in charge. And sure, Barbieland may look more colorful and dreamlike, but just like the real world, it's not perfect for everyone. The Kens have no identity. They're defined entirely by what they're branded as. And when Barbie is asked where the Kens go in Barbieland, she says that she doesn't know. There's inequality in both worlds, and the film doesn't ignore that. Ultimately, the lesson Ken learns is that he, as a man, doesn't have to live up to the expectations put upon him. He doesn't need a woman's attention to be considered a real man. He can just be himself and fulfill his own dreams instead of competing for the affections of others. This surprised me because, well, I was promised man-bashing. Where was the man-bashing? I thought the message was encouraging. On the flip side, Barbie, having been exposed to the suffering of the real world, chooses to become human and stay in the real world forever. That's how the movie ends, and honestly, it works well as a standalone film. But you know Mattel would never let that happen. Director Greta Gerwig said she has no plan for a sequel. They don't care. Everything's gotta be a franchise now. Polly Pocket, Magic 8 Ball, Hot Wheels.
Because nobody just makes sequels anymore.
Despite all of this, I actually think a Barbie sequel could work. There's certainly enough material to work off of, and if you think about it, Mattel no longer having a stereotypical default Barbie, and them wanting to cash in on other properties would be the easiest setup for the bustling big-budget beauty that could be Barbie 2. Jayniac. Though the movie ends on a positive note, what becomes apparent after a little bit of thought is the fact that Barbieland no longer has its main Barbie. And though this wouldn't have an immediate impact on the world, it certainly would for Mattel. In the film's climax, the company is told that realistic Barbies with cellulite, wrinkles, and stretch marks would sell well. So, obviously, the company would move forward with the idea. There's just one problem. If Barbieland is affected by the toys being played with in the real world, then that means Mattel's new realistic Barbie would start showing up in Barbieland. And if the sales numbers are correct, they'd start overpopulating the place. Girls aren't playing with classic Barbies anymore. They've all been thrown out in favor of the new realistic ones, forcing all the classic Barbies from the first film to migrate to where Weird Barbie lives. If the first movie's central theme is freedom of identity and choice, then the sequel's theme should be the consequences of those choices. Now that the classic Barbies aren't being played with, Mattel has a boardroom meeting to brainstorm replacements for what once was. Sure, their realistic Barbies are selling well with a multitude of women, but they still need a product geared specifically towards little girls. An intern rolls in a giant table. They pull off the exaggeratedly long sheet to reveal Polly Pocket. The head of Mattel says that this is their new stereotypical Barbie. So, for those who don't know, Polly Pocket is a toy line of miniature dolls currently owned by Mattel. The idea is that you could carry her and her accessories in a case the size of a trinket box. The success of the toy line eventually led to an animated tie-in film being produced. The name of said film? Pollyworld. In the first Barbie movie, on their way to the real world, Barbie and Ken travel through a bunch of different areas. It's firmly established that those areas aren't a part of Barbieland. So what if Pollyworld was one of them? With its own civilization and aesthetic, I think it'd make about as much sense as Barbieland does. Anyway, in the real world, we're reintroduced to Barbara, the original stereotypical Barbie, and we see how she's been adjusting to the real world. You know, the jaded, nihilistic, patriarchal, self-indulgent. Spoiler alert, she doesn't. But don't worry, we're not going to undo the previous film's events, because that's what bad sequels do. There's just a part of her that misses the simplicity of Barbie Land. So she decides to go back and recapture that joy, even though she knows she has to live with the choice she made. So this trip will just be temporary. Once she arrives, she learns that Barbie Land is starting to look just like the real world, the one she couldn't adjust to. She goes to Weird Barbie to figure out what's going on, and she's told that all the classic Barbies are losing their strength because no one is playing with them anymore. If you want to twist the knife just a little bit, you can have all the realistic Barbies just kind of standing around in Barbie Land, because people in the real world are just taking pictures of them and posting them on Instagram or something. That'd be kind of funny. Barbara asks who is being played with, and Weird Barbie tells her a girl from another world. So Barbie gathers her friends, and they go on an adventure to Polyworld, hoping to restore unity in Barbie Land. And there you have it, Barbie 2, a big adventure flick where the Barbies learn about other worlds. You could have them seek the magic 8-ball for guidance, have them bump into Ken and the Masters of the Universe, ultimately resulting in a Boomco battle between classic Barbies and Mattel itself. The moral of the movie? Being feminine doesn't mean being weak. Suppose Mattel, in their infinite wisdom, advertised realistic Barbie as everything but feminine. If you want to simplify it, you could make sure the realistic Barbies never wear pink. You know, a big identifying factor of the classic Barbies. Seriously, it could totally work for a sequel, but if they don't make a sequel, I'd totally understand. Sometimes it's good to just make a movie, a focused narrative comprised entirely of one part. Not every story needs a crazy amount of lore, not every story needs all its questions answered, and not every story needs to continue. Sometimes it's good to just let something have a beginning, middle, and end. And on its own, it deals with its themes very well. For a while now, I've been suffering from what I can only describe as a dying passion. I've had unfinished scripts laying around my office for months, and every time I've tried to record them, I just figure, what's the point? Hardly anyone's watching anymore. But then I saw the Barbie movie, and it presented a great question. As life passes us by, opportunities arise to discover something one may not have realized previously. And in these brief moments of realization, we cling to questions we've subconsciously been asking ourselves the whole time. Why do we live, and what do we want? It's in our ability to choose how we answer those questions that we find who we really are. Why do I live? I live to prove that life gets better. What do I want? I want that flippin' silver play button, got that! Be sure to follow me on my social medias, but especially Twitch if you want to see me live stream. I stream every single week. If you like hearing my voice, be sure to follow the Junior and Marcus Talk podcast, where we talk about just about anything. I also have a merch store with some new designs, so go ahead and check that out too. And Discord. So, what would you do for a Barbie sequel? Do you have any other ideas of which Mattel products could or couldn't work as a movie, or how you'd be able to fit them into my Barbie plot? Let me know in the comments down below. Until then, I'll leave you with this. But before Freddy gets in, he turns to the bartender and says, "Hey, I never got your name." To which the bartender responds with, "Vega. Tori Vega."